Hello all, out in the wilderness with dripping and fog and a little bit of cool wind, but it's actually pretty warm out. But we're not here to talk about that, are we? No, what I'm going to talk about is what happened on my last video. I had a commenter comment on over 8 different comments on CO2 and how it worked, and he wanted to know this and that. And then I was going to go answer him, and YouTube demolished all of his comments and himself. He didn't even give us a chance. You know, just because somebody dumps on you or something doesn't mean that we don't want the comment on there. Please let us make the comment decisions. But I'm going to do it anyway, in case he's watching. CO2 in the ocean. Yes, it does exist. Now, CO2 is a gas. And let's say you take a cylinder and you fill it up with a gas. What happens in there? Well, each gas molecule will divide and stay exactly the same distance apart from every other molecule, making gas pressure consistent throughout the vessel. So, the same thing goes with the planet Earth. The more CO2 humans put in the air, the more CO2 goes into the ocean to equalize the gas. That's the way gases work. They like to be equal, all the same. Like water wants to be flat. Gas wants to be equal throughout the space. And if the ocean is permeable, the gas will go down in the ocean and equalize the gas amount that equals the amount in the atmosphere. Let me show you this chart with CO2 exchange with the ocean. As you can see, it will continue to rise in the ocean as long as CO2 rises in the atmosphere. Now, what is the causation of the CO2 going into the ocean? Do you know? Well, it's called acidification. But look at the gas exchange in the ocean here in this graph. As you can see, it is consistently going up with CO2 in the atmosphere. So the more CO2 that goes into the ocean, the more chemistry that goes on. Salt water and water itself with CO2 results in acidification of water. So in other words, that when shellfish are in the ocean and we get too high acid in the ocean, it cannot manufacture shell material. So right now, the interference with humans with the ocean is causing a drop of 0.3 to 0.4 pH in the surface ocean, and it is expected to continue through to 2100 regardless of what humans do now. It will continue to increase. In the US, the Great Lakes had the same issue here. Many different alpine lakes had a problem with acidification of the lake, which killed off fish and other wildlife that was in the lake, and the wildlife that depended on the wildlife that was in the lake died off as well. So Obama went ahead and took steps to get rid of coal fire generation, which makes electricity pretty much in the East Coast or the eastern seaboard or that sort of area. They love coal-fired plants, but the problem is that coal causes extreme CO2 in the atmosphere and sulfur and other terrible chemicals that get into the lake and cause severe acidification of these lakes and the die-off. So Obama started to fix that by getting rid of these horrible coal-fire plants. But Trump is too stupid to understand basic science like this, and he is wanting coal back for some stupid reason. Well, one thing, he doesn't give a damn whether wildlife exists or doesn't. It just interferes with his golfing. So as far as he's concerned, get rid of all the wildlife. It has no value whatsoever. Besides, he'll be dead in a few years anyway. He doesn't give a fuck about the future of the US or any other part of the world, as long as his little section increases his dollar amount. Now, I know a lot of people like to kill animals, whether it's in the water or on land. Fishing is one of those places where people like to do that. But you're going to lose your fish if you don't get rid of iron oxides, sulfates, and other chemicals that are put in water through coal-fired power plants. Driving diesel trucks that kind of thing, some manufacturing. Though most manufacturing is pretty cleaned up by now. Though it does produce enough pollution to get over 25% of the CO2 accumulation in our atmosphere. So there you have it, my commenter. That's how CO2 interacts with the ocean. I hope that helped. And now you can kind of understand why it's so important to get rid of coal-fired power plants here in the US and China and other places where they still burn coal. It's a real disaster for our planet. Hopefully somebody soon will get the message, because if there's not a single animal left on the planet and something kills all of our food, which is a really good possibility, we're out of food. So here's the big picture problem. If people aren't smart enough to put the very brightest, most educated, most brilliant people in office, then how in the hell are we going to have enough intelligence to fix things before it's too late? Right now we're talking about being very close to too late. We have a meltdown in the Arctic Ocean that's happening faster than ever thought, or at least the experts thought, and things need to be dealt with now, such as getting rid of coal altogether, getting rid of diesel altogether, getting rid of cars altogether. There are alternatives, but unfortunately the US and other countries have put the stupidest, most unbright people in office, thinking that that's cool, that they'll get things done. Well, as you can see, we're not getting things done, and things are getting worse and worse by the day. Every degree it heats up, the more viruses are going to be popping up, and the more trouble the US and other countries around the world are going to have. And the brightest and the best aren't going to be able to stop it unless we do something now by hiring the brightest and the best. But I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon.